Hello friends, welcome to Indus Academics and welcome to CDSE Cogniscenti series, specially meant for the CDSE aspirants who are looking forward to clear the upcoming CDSE exam. So in this web series, we have already done one video on English in which we discussed the trend analysis of the types of questions that are asked in the English paper. Today in the second video on English, we are going to discuss the approach we must adopt in preparing those topics from which maximum number of questions are expected to be asked. So as you all know that there are 120 questions asked in the English paper which are to be answered in 120 minutes. And from these 120 questions, we can easily expect 20 to 22 questions from Cloze Test. Now, as you all know that in Cloze Test, a passage is provided to you with multiple blanks and you are supposed to fill each of these blanks with the most appropriate word from the given options. It is somewhat similar to the fill in the blanks questions that you have been doing all your life. But please keep in mind that in simple fill in the blanks, you have to choose from the options by just considering the single sentence given in the question. Whereas in Cloze Test, the entire context of the passage has to be taken into consideration for filling each blank. Now, I'm sure that the questions from this section may appear confusing or tricky to some students, but let me assure you that if we adopt the correct approach and just stay mindful while solving these questions, we can easily get to solve these questions correctly and can have 20 to 22 correct questions in our kitty in the English paper. So let us go through some of the key points that we must keep in mind in approaching such questions. First of all, read the passage carefully to understand its context. All the sentences together in the passage must reinforce the same context. Do not treat each sentence individually, and the context of the passage will help you in judging the kind of words that will fit in the blanks. Now, these things will definitely become more clear to you once we solve the examples. So by that time, please bear with me. Second point, very important. You must choose the correct contextual meaning of the words given in the options. For example, if we take the word bark. Now, bark means the outermost covering of a tree trunk. It also means the sound produced by a dog. And this word can also be used for a certain way of speech. For example, the officer barked the orders at his subordinates. Another key point is to try the axis of the tone of the passage, whether it is descriptive, that is providing information about an event or an object, or is it analytical, providing analysis or reasoning about something, or is it critical, discussing the pros and cons, or is the tone of the passage narrative or humorous, or so on. Determining the tone of the passage will help us in determining the most appropriate words to be filled in the blanks. Let's take an example. He, blank space, down the stairs, bumping along like a quarter in a tumbling drag. And the three options that are given are tumbled, fell, and dropped. Now, as you can see that all the three options have similar meanings. But as we can determine from the second part of this sentence, bumping along like a quarter in a tumbling drag, we can see that this is written in a humorous vein. So the correct option among the three will be tumbled. He tumbled down the stairs, bumping along like a quarter in a tumbling drag. Because if we use this option, it will maintain the humorous tone of the sentence. Another important point is to try determining the kind of word that has to be filled in. Now, the word that we are supposed to fill can be a noun, can be a pronoun, an article, a preposition, a connector. Now, while we are filling the articles, we can rest assured that the articles are usually the easiest to fill, as we are all well aware of the rules of their usage, A and B, etc. Now, in case the word that we are to choose is a connector, that is a word that is joining two phrases in a sentence, please pay attention whether the connector is a supporting connector or a contradicting connector. If the context of the two phrases which the connector is joining is same, a supporting connector will be used, such as similarly, likely, and etc. For example, he's a good and an honest man. Whereas if the two phrases do not match in their context, a contradicting connector will be used, such as unlike, but, although. Like, although he's a good man, but he's very strict with the children, or something like that. In case of adjectives or adverbs, it sometimes becomes difficult to determine the correct choice in case all the options have similar meanings. For example, can I have a blank space word with you? And the three options given here are swift, quick, and prompt. Now, in such cases, choose the option which is more frequently used with the word adjacent to the blank space. I'm sure you must have heard quick word more commonly as compared to swift word or prompt word. So the correct sentence here will be, can I have a quick word with you? And quick is going to be the correct option. Some important tips that we must keep in mind while solving the questions. Actually, we can apply these tips to other types of questions as well. First of all, use the elimination technique. Of course, there will be more than one option which will seem to fit incorrectly, but start with eliminating the most unlikely ones so that you can narrow down your choices. Second important tip is to build up your proficiency in the language, which can be done only by reading and listening. Reading English newspaper and listening to English news will not only help you in current affairs, but also help in building a good vocabulary and getting you acquainted with the usage of the words. Now, of course, it cannot be done in a single day or a couple of days, and it will require time. So use whatever time you have in hand wisely. Another important trick, which I think is the most important one of all these three, is to solve as many previous year questions as possible. It is going to give you a very good idea about the difficulty level of the questions that you are going to face in the exam, and will also be able to you'll also be able to judge your preparation very honestly. So now let us move to an example and see how can we apply these important tips in solving the questions. So this passage has been taken from 2012 CDSE paper. Let's go through this passage once. According to a report in yesterday's newspaper, space, police dog was taken to Raj Bhavan, blank space, Monday. This was to trace the blank space of the very important horse which, blank space, reported missing on Sunday. The dog picked, blank space, the scent on some traces of blank space and ran a few yards before losing the space. The police have launched a vigorous space into the whole affair. They have space the services of a forensic expert, space, fingerprint expert, and a photographer. Space are now 14 horses at Raj Bhavan. Space are kept in a large shed near the gate. So let's start. According to a report in yesterday's newspaper, once, of course we'll not use once, we are not talking about a story or some incident which took place long ago. We are talking about yesterday's incident. And according to a report in yesterday's newspaper, a police dog or a new police dog was taken to Raj Bhavan. New doesn't make sense, so we are going to use A. According to a report in yesterday's newspaper, A police dog was taken to Raj Bhavan at Monday, next Monday, on Monday. Now, next Monday is incorrect because as you can see in the earlier sentence, it is yesterday. So, was taken to Raj Bhavan at Monday, on Monday. On is the correct word, at is grammatically incorrect. So, we'll write according to a report in yesterday's newspaper, a police dog was taken to Raj Bhavan on Monday. This was to trace the killers of the very important horse, dogs of the very important horse, police of the very important horse. Now this one is quite easy because dogs and police do not make sense. So it will be killers. This was to trace the killers of the very important horse, which has reported missing. No. Were reported missing. Again incorrect. There is a single horse which was reported missing on Sunday. The dog picked on the scent, at the scent, up the scent. Up is the correct word. The dog picked up the scent on some traces of those, some traces of blood, some traces of report. So some traces of those doesn't make sense. Some traces of blood, definitely, because that's what dogs do. Report will be incorrect too. So the scent on some traces of blood and ran a few yards before losing the bet, losing the track, losing the game. Dog is not playing a game here. The dog hasn't placed a bet as well. The dog has lost the track. So the correct word will be track, and ran a few yards before losing the track. The police have launched a vigorous search and investigation or campaign. We are not talking about media, we are talking about police. And rather than police search, we have more commonly heard the term police investigation. That is what we discussed in our important tips as well. The police have launched a vigorous investigation into the whole affair. They have given up the services. Why will they give up? They require the services of a forensic expert. They have reported the services. No. They have requisitioned. That is mean they have requested the usage of the services of forensic expert. So requisitioned is going to be correct word here. The services of a forensic expert, comma, a fingerprint expert, N is going to be incorrect. As we discussed, articles are the easiest to fill. 2, no, we are talking about a single fingerprint expert, so it's not going to be 2. The services of a forensic expert, a fingerprint expert, and a photographer. There are now 14 horses. We are now 14 horses. No, we are not horses. So are now 14 horses. No again. So there are now 14 horses at Raj Bhavan. Who, where, which. Now where are kept in a large shade? Doesn't make sense. And which is used for non-living objects. So who are kept in a large shade near the gate. So who is going to be the correct option. So now you can see, if we keep a cool head and easily apply or calmly apply, I must say, the tips that we discussed in this session, we can easily solve at least most of the questions correctly. And since you can expect 22 or even more questions from this section in the upcoming CDSE exam, please prepare well for Cloze Test and you can easily have a good score in English. So good luck to all of you. Hope you all clear your CDSE exam. But in case you need some help, let me give you an important information. Indus Academics has come up with a 7 days very comprehensive and compact program that we are calling CDSE 2017 Quality Improvement Program. In case you are interested in knowing its details, please drop a mail at induskc@gmail.com or give us a call at one of these numbers and we will send you the details. But please keep in mind, the last date for joining this program is 31st October 2017. Good luck to all of you and thank you.